I mean, here's what I would tell you, big picture. I can't tell you if the Republicans ultimately are going to win the Senate. They might. I can't tell you if they're likely to win the House. It sure looks like they could. But what I can tell you is the biggest loser tonight is Donald Trump. His candidates, his hand-picked candidates, lost in states Republicans thought they could win. In New Hampshire with Bolduc, in Pennsylvania with Mastriano. The fact that you have his hand-picked candidates for Senate in Pennsylvania, Oz, in Georgia, Herschel Walker, both, struggling. Those that Donald Trump brought to this race have so far either lost or are losing.
We kept hearing about that red wave that was coming. Well, so far, at least as it comes from the next morning after those midterm elections, it's a bit more of a trickle, a little more of a 50-50. We were expecting all this. Even on Fox News, I saw Steve Doocy asking multiple times, where's this red wave that I keep hearing about? There's potentially one person that they can blame for the lack of this overwhelming victory that they expected for Republicans. It's one potentially Donald Trump. As a matter of fact, he was asked about this the morning of the election, and he had a Donald Trump type of answer about the credit that he thinks he deserves versus the blame that he thinks he should never get. Watch.
You've endorsed more than 330 candidates this election cycle. Tonight, win or lose, the results for Republicans, how much of that will be because of Donald Trump?
Well, I think if they win, I should get all the credit. And if they lose, I should not be blamed at all, okay? But it'll probably be just the opposite. But usually what would happen is when they do well, I won't be given any credit. And if they do badly, they will blame everything on me. So.
Yes. Honestly, I was prepared for a Donald Trump answer, but I wasn't prepared for that Donald Trump answer. There's more. There's folks that are not jumping ship necessarily, but they're still starting to call out who it is and why it is that they're experiencing some of this. Maz, before we get into more, because there's a lot happening here. First of all, as you follow things that happened last night, were you a bit surprised, at least as far as the I guess, gray area or purple nature of the election? And also the fact that Donald Trump was trying to make it about himself before, after, and during, until it wasn't that convenient to make it about him.
Well, I wasn't surprised that he was trying to make it about himself. And just seeing that answer right there, he seemed to be joking at the beginning, the first line he gave, and it made me think, wow, he was a reality TV guy, and it would have been perfect if he would have just stayed in that lane. But he looks exhausted, and he has made the country exhausted and the world exhausted. I will give a lot of the blame to him. I will also give a lot of the blame to the Republicans thinking they could just get rid of Roe versus Wade and nothing would happen. Again, not to tie everything back to Iran, but Iran is a cautionary tale of what happens when religion works its way into politics. And the first thing that happened when the Islamic Republic became the Islamic Republic, they started taking away women's rights. And so we see in America this past year, they took away women's rights. And then who do they go after next? LGBTQ. Justice Thomas said they're going to go after gay marriage, and look at that. So on and on and on and on. So I think the Republicans shot themselves in the foot by taking away Roe versus Wade. And what I'm shocked about, you were asking if I'm shocked. Mm-hmm. I was shocked when the economy is really in the tanker right now. It's not doing well. And obviously the real blame comes to the pandemic. But everyone's been blaming Biden. And you would think midterms usually go to the other party, mm-hmm. as well as a bad economy. They should have, it should have been a smackdown. And yet here we are with a lot of close races. I was shocked when they started saying that the House, if the Republicans win, the House could be won by like 2 or 3, Congress people, which is, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's the fact that it's getting this close and people were expecting so much different is the crazy part about it. But you know what? You said not to connect it back to Iran. We connect many political events and things and trends that happen in our country to other countries that we deem. Think about how Republicans talk about Venezuela all the time. We can't deal with that. Look what's happening in Venezuela, without any details of what's happening in Venezuela or what had happened in Venezuela that has anything to do with what's happening here. This is the direct result. It's one of those things where humans, you attack certain humans, and when they have the opportunity to have their voices heard, they might not agree with the things that you're doing. By the way, where are those policies? I've been talking about it since the beginning. Anyways, let's move on to more about this, because Rick Santorum, of course, a big-time Trump acolyte or a Republican sycophant, as he would have to be, he's even a bit disgusted with the nature of what happened, and he's ready to blame that guy whose name he won't really say. Watch this guy.
So it's the problem, the problem that, and I've been complaining about this for 20-some years with the McConnell-led party in the United States Senate, is every race is about how bad the other guys are. It's never about what we're going to do. It's never about what our plan. Did you see any plan out of Washington, D.C. to do anything to fix anything? No. It was just how bad the other side was. And I'm looking at the rest of the team, and you know who the leader of the rest of the team is, and the rest of the team didn't do well tonight. We're barely, it looks like the Republicans will barely take the House right now. I mean,
barely take the House.
Barely take the House. You know who the leader is of the other faction of the party, right? Yeah, we do. Can you say his name, or are you still afraid of him? It's the nature of their party. Even when they're upset, they still can't say it. Morning Joe's on MSNBC. They said it, and they said it a lot. In fact, they're pretty happy about so far what's happening. Again, everything's not decided, but still, Morning Joe and the crew was on this type of energy this morning.
Democrats currently lead the count, 48 seats to 47.
Wait a second.
I know.
Wait a second.
What happened? Wait.
I don't understand. Michael Steele, you ran a party.
I did.
In off-year elections. I mean, I'm here because of an off-year election.
Yeah.
They usually even elect people like me, David Plouffe, in off-year elections. Yeah. I'm serious. There's always a wave. There was a wave in 82 and 86 with Ronald Reagan against Reagan. There was a wave against Barack Obama. Yeah. There's a wave. Well, I don't understand this. Democrats are still, they still have a chance of holding on to the Senate?
This wasn't even a good ripple.
Come on.
This, yeah.
There's not a red wave.
It's not a red wave.
Maybe a little bit of spotting. That's it.
Spotting, a good puddle in some corners, that's about the best you're going to get.
Spray paint. Let's spray paint around.
Yeah.
That's all I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's
Hey, Donald Trump. Hey, Donald Trump.
He doesn't watch.
Meet Boris Johnson. I mean...
He even brought in a live studio audience, Maz.
Yeah. He's doing crowd work over there. He's excited. Listen, a lot of Democrats are very happy and excited about what happened. I mean, even if we don't know yet, they could end up losing both. Hopefully, they'll at least hold on to the Senate. But even if the House does go to the Republicans, it's going to be a very weak Republican group. And given that if Kevin McCarthy were to become Speaker of the House, he has to deal with all of his riffraff on the right, the Matt Gaetzes, the Marjorie Taylor Greenes, and that's just going to be a nightmare for him too. So it seems like their policies are coming back to bite them. And as actually Santorum said in the beginning, I've always said this, Republicans are very good about complaining. They're very good at complaining. That's what got Donald Trump elected. Complain. But what's your solution? Oh, I got no solution. And then for Rick Santorum to be on Newsmax, first of all, it's funny. He used to be on CNN. Now he's on Newsmax. I feel like they keep pushing him further and further out of the picture. But I wonder if Newsmax is part of his contract that he can't blame Donald Trump. It might be in the contract.
Oh, it's you know what? I hadn't even thought about that way, but definitely a possibility, because they definitely don't want to lose any kind of the last fringe connection they have to him. And we know how thin-skinned he is. You can't say one small thing. There was one other person, though. I want to wrap this whole thing and the lack of the red wave with this, because Ben Shapiro is speaking a lot, and he's been openly critical at times. And this was his criticisms for why Republicans had their issues as well. He says candidate quality matters. Underlying dynamics are not strong enough to drive bad candidates to victory. Here's his lists of reasons. Donald Trump was a major drag on Republicans, from his picks to his antics. Why do they keep putting up with him, though? Trump picked bad candidates, spent almost no money on his hand-picked candidates, then proceeded to crap on the Republicans who lost and didn't sufficiently bend the knee. This will have 2024 impact. So here's a little bit of a warning, I think, to Donald Trump, since he's been giving warnings to Ron DeSantis, who's a disgusting piece of garbage, too. He's like, you guys, we're seeing that Trump doesn't always have the connection and the control that he thinks he's got. They're trying to figure out 2024. They honestly don't fully care about the midterms. They just want a big showing enough so that Donald Trump can get his numbers up or his confidence and people's support behind him enough for 2024. That's the big piece of the pie that they're looking for, and why this infighting, I think, is happening. We'll see what happens when it comes up to that. But this expectation didn't really pan out. You guys should check out some of the candidates that Trump did endorse and see that a lot of those fringe folks did actually lose. Their names weren't big enough, and his endorsement, weekly endorsement, just wasn't really what people were expecting. J.R. Majewski was definitely on that list. That one stuck out to me. Doug Mastriano. Tudor Dixon up in Michigan lost to Gretchen Whitmer in Michigan as they plotted probably to kill her again. So at least those things panned out well. We'll see where it goes.